Well, Eze, let's start with our oil price. We've seen the oil price rising again to about $99 last week. Early this week, it was about $100 per barrel. How are we seeing investors in the fixed income markets responding to this? Of course, we know that before they were quite cautious and concerned also about our reserves, which continue to drop consistently from about 37 billion naira to 36 billion naira. Well, how are our foreign investors sort of reacting to the oil price and the continuous drop in our foreign reserves?
Uche, hi. I would say that currently the news seems positive on the oil price front. Not so much of a green light on the reserve levels, but overall I think for now we still have investors adopting a wait-and-see approach. We must not remove the fact that the factors that actually push the prices to those levels, to those lows that we see close to $90, $85 per barrel this past few weeks, we must not forget that those crises are really not have not really fully abated. I don't think currently you will have investors rushing in now with their monies and with the flows to come into the market. Albeit you might see a bit of cherry picking here and there across the curve spectrum to see which ones are more interesting for the investors, even with the risk. But overall, I think on a large scale basis, we still find the investors adopting a wait and see approach to see how much the origin of the crisis, how much it has been stemmed so far. So bit of mixed news, but in terms of in the investment space, nothing so positive to report so far for now. But I think maybe the positive might be with the fact that we do not see so much of an exit like we've seen this past few months. So that in a way it's a bit of a positive then.
Well, Eze, we have a bi-monthly auction on T-bills coming up next week. What are your expectations, of course, in terms of yields, which we have seen inching up slightly in the past couple of weeks?
Well, overall, I mean, yeah, you did mention that at the last auction, we've seen a bit of slight increase to stable levels across the curve on the fixed income market. We've seen a bit of moving up, but I would say it's a time where you find a lot of local investors might want to put in their funds in the market. Overall, in terms of the Nigerian asset class, especially on the fixed income end, there's a lot of positive real returns. I mean, inflation dropping to 12.7 from 12.9, and you have across the asset class yields from 14% to 16 and above. Those really point to some real returns for investors, and I think the discerning ones are really looking at this and are tapping into the opportunities. So overall, with these things, I think you might not see so much of a slight rise in yields the coming auction. Instead, it might be the opposite, and you see a slight decline in yields at those auctions coming forward.
That's interesting. There's a slight decline in yields, but let's shift our attention to the naira. We know it closed at 162.70, gaining some value to the dollar. What is behind this? Now, I'd like to ask, I mean, when we look at how much the CBN offered at the WDAS auction, it's offered actually at 300 million naira, $300 million, but we saw it selling just a little over 251 million naira now. Million dollars. Now, traders say this was because of a decline in demand. In your case, Eze, do you see this reflecting an overall decline in the demand for the currency here in Nigeria?
I would want to say that, yeah, for now you typically expect a bit of waning decline in demand. I think the typical cyclical oil importer demand is actually tapping off a bit. Overall, some form of liquidities are coming into the markets, albeit from the oil flows. I think the timing of these two factors actually providing support on the currency. Like you said, I think this is the first time in 3-4 months that the CBN is actually offering much more than was demanded at the auction, and that's a good signal for the CBN. It shows that throughout the blip that we saw in the currencies and on the demand front, they've been able to manage it successfully, and they're actually pushing some positive sentiment on the currency. I think this first auction that we're seeing, coupled with the fact that the flows that typically might drive this price in the interbank market, we are not seeing them right now, would actually provide some additional strength for the currency going forward into the next few weeks. Overall, we are not really so immune from external shocks. So domestically, it looks a bit the lights keep getting brighter, but overall, the gloom in the world economy hasn't really dissipated. So there's no telling that we might come back into some form of weakness in the currency. But for now, looking at these factors and the timing whereby those two major things happen, I think it actually does portray some strength to the currency into the coming weeks.
Well, as you're saying, I mean, with your take there that the global outlook sort of is tainting the outlook for the naira. Please give me a clear picture. What is your take on whether this gain in the naira will be sustained? You think that the picture here at home looks a bit better, but when we look at the overall picture, it's not so. The outlook isn't so bright. Well, what is your take for how long we're going to see this gain in the naira be sustained?
Well, I mean, if I consider the cyclical demand factors and on the currency front, I would say that the naira gains should actually continue for going into the few weeks, all things being equal. Like I say, if you see a bit of optimism on the worldwide economic front, also the currency asset poised some very good real returns on that front, and not to forget the fact that major central bankers are now performing some form of easing or the other in the bid to spur growth, and I don't think Nigeria would be left out of this whole cycle of events happening. So with these factors coming in, I think we might see some naira stable levels or more on the strengthening part into the coming weeks.